Oh dear, EA, what have you done? You certainly opened up a can of worms with this one, haven't you? And, this could go all the way as far back as Star Wars Battlefront 2 and even way back into the instigation of Ultimate Team in FIFA. But in this instance, your intransigence regarding loot boxes and specifically your refusal to remove loot boxes from FIFA Ultimate Team in Belgium, despite the authorities there ruling that they're illegal gambling, is starting to look less and less like a smart business move and more like arrogance mixed with incompetence. And we all know that that's never a good mix. Well, not unless your name's Donald Trump, that is. Or maybe Andrew Wilson or Blake Jorgensen, because in this case, their arrogance and incompetence has led them to underestimate what they're up against. Because frankly, gamers don't like to be dictated to, and nor do regulatory bodies such as gambling commissions. And EA refusing to take note of Belgium's rulings has perhaps led to other commissions and other regulatory bodies sitting up and taking notice. And what am I talking about? Well, it seems that hot on the heels of Belgium and the Netherlands declaring loot boxes to be illegal, we now have regulators across Europe and even the US coming together to deal with the problem. At the 2018 Gambling Regulators European Forum, 16 regulators, that's 15 from Europe and 1 from the US, as reported in Eurogamer and the Metro in the UK, stated that they intend to address the risks created by blurring the lines between gaming and gambling. And that's a really significant development because it shows that these organisations are starting to realise that there is a blurring of the lines and that gambling is starting to seep into video games and in fact has become a major part of many video games. And specifically for the UK, that's a big step forward. They also go on to state that providers must ensure that features within games such as loot boxes do not constitute gambling under national laws. And for me, that doesn't go far enough. I think it's a little bit too conciliatory and it gives them a little bit of wiggle room, these developers. But it does show that these organisations are finally taking this really seriously and they want to work together to do something about it. And also reported in the Metro and Eurogamer, we had UK Gambling Commission Chief Executive Neil MacArthur stating that he wants parents to be aware of the risks and to talk to their children about how to stay safe. And, that's really, really important. I can't stress enough. As a parent, I think this is really important. But it's not just kids that this affects. He also went on to state that unlicensed websites offering skin betting can pop up at any time and children could be gambling with money intended for computer game products. Again, that's really important. He says, we encourage video game companies to work with their gambling regulators and take action now to address those concerns to make sure that consumers, and particularly children, are protected. And, this is a significant step forward in the continuing fight against loot boxes and their stealth gambling mechanics, not least because the list of authorities involved is pretty impressive. There's 16 of them. And then this is the list. I'll read it out quickly. We've got Australia, the Czech Republic, France, Gibraltar, Ireland, the Isle of Man, Jersey, Latvia, Malta, the Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Spain, Washington State, and the one that's most important to me is the UK. And the fact of the matter is that all these groups coming together and talking about this is significant because it could have a knock-on effect on the whole world. If all these different organisations start taking this seriously, then the likes of EA can't just ignore them because ultimately it's going to hit their bottom line. What's also significant, though, is that the signatories of this declaration appear to understand that gambling in games doesn't only come into play where skin betting is concerned. You know, the UK in particular has been reluctant to move on the loot boxes themselves up until now. So the fact that the statement says that games companies must ensure that features within games themselves, such as loot boxes, don't constitute gambling under national laws, is a massive, massive deal. It means the ground's shifting and that the gambling commissions across Europe and the US are starting to see loot boxes themselves as a potential form of gambling. And that could mean that they're illegal in many cases. Because, you know, apart from many other things, these games are being sold to kids. And selling gambling to kids is illegal. But we're still not there yet. You know, the fact is that this is just a group of regulators coming together to discuss the issue and put pressure on the developers and publishers. At this stage, that's all they're doing. Hopefully, the next step will be to categorically declare that the loot boxes themselves are gambling and thus illegal, you know, in the same way that Belgium has done. And that will be, you know, the ultimate nail in the coffin, hopefully. But the fact is, even if we get that, we know that the likes of EA and, you know, specifically EA are going to come out fighting, because that's exactly what they're doing in Belgium with their refusal to remove loot boxes from FIFA. You know, I said it before and I'm going to say it again now. They are showing their true colours. They're quite happy to screw gamers of every last penny, and they will fight to do so. So we as gamers, we need to keep the pressure on. Because loot boxes are gambling. We know it, and the gambling commissions are now starting to see that we are right. And the more that come on board with this, the more pressure we get on, the more likely we are to see an end to these bloody exploitative practices. You know, as I said in my previous video, this could go on for years. But, you know, I do have to have a little chuckle at this. You know, this development, the coming together of all these bodies to finally stand up to the likes of FIFA and EA. You know, it does. It puts a smile on my face. Nothing's over until the fat lady sings, and we don't know which way these gambling commissions will ultimately fall as regards the issue. But, you know, just thinking about how uncomfortable Andrew Wilson and Blake Jorgensen are right now, well, it makes me smile. I bet they look like a couple of worms on a hook. They've been selling stealth gambling to our children and the vulnerable for years now. And so I can only say thank you to those commissions who came together to discuss this and to finally take it seriously. So yeah, thanks guys. I know that it's your job. And, you know, I know that you're in place to oversee these things. But, you know, finally, we're getting some real movement on this. And, you know, all I can say is just keep up the good work. And on a personal note to Neil MacArthur of the UK Gambling Commission, I'd like to say, you know, a personal thank you. As a father with a 9-year-old kid, you know, I've been extremely concerned about this proliferation of gambling within video games. And it is gambling within video games. Games that are sold to kids. The fact that you've finally woken up to this, you know, it's a massive relief to me. I frankly do not want my kid exposed to this crap. So, you know, well done. Finally, well done. And can you now look into the issue of gambling adverts being broadcast on sports channels before 9 PM in the UK? Cheers. And as for Blake Jorgensen and Andrew Wilson, well, maybe you should start looking into forming a cult. You know, I've heard there's a lot of money to be made in doing that, and quite a few people have set them up over the years. So, you know, maybe set up a cult, guys, because hopefully the bottom's dropped out of gambling mechanics in video games. And maybe moving forward, we might actually see some proper bloody video games coming out of the likes of EA. With a bit of luck, we might see the back of you two Herberts. And, you know, all the others who want to screw us out of every single penny that they possibly can get out of us. But hey, maybe you should get together with those as well. Form a cult. Make some money. It'd be right up your alley, I reckon. But anyway, look, what do you guys think? Do you agree with this? I keep making videos about this, but I had to cover this because I think this is a major step forward and I'm really happy to hear this. But you guys might disagree with me. You might still be cynical and think that this is just, a tiny step forward when there's a huge distance to cover. And, I'm with you on that. I think there's a long way to go yet, and we do have to keep up the pressure. But let me know what you think in the comments. And, you might think that loot boxes are the best thing since sliced bread, and tell me why if you want. And we can have a discussion, an argument, whatever you want to call it about that. And in the meantime, I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea because my voice is going. And I'll speak to you in the next one. But yeah, this is a good day, I think. Bye.